Hello class, welcome to Westeros. We're team 1 and we're going to show you how to ascend to the throne with vision and leadership. Now we're going to kick off with the agenda. Introduction, agenda, understanding vision. Communicate the vision, lead from the front, influence team members, direct decision makers. We'll have a short video activity and then I'll sum it up and I'll field the Q&A. All right? So, understand vision. Now the why. Provide motivation, create a plan, maintain focus. These things are important because over time, a company can lose its way, an organization can be lost in the weeds. You have to provide motivation throughout the work day to day. You have to create a plan, something that will have these large goals, but segmented into smaller accomplishable things. Then you have to maintain focus. Like I said, we get lost in our mundane everyday life. We can say, hey, I want to get a master's, and get lost in a bachelor's for 6 years. That was the best. Now, we have to focus when you start, when you continue the everyday, and then whenever you extend into the future. The reason is every milestone in your life changes what you think is possible and what you think you should be accomplishing. We move on to the how. Now, when you dream big and vision for yourself, but you have to create for a group. Now, I'm going to expand upon that. When you extend into the future and you dream big, something that is much bigger than anything you think possible today. You have dirt in your hands and you build it into a giant building. You have to create for yourself. It's your vision. It's yours. It's your baby. And you're the one who's going to build it into something great. But you also have to create for a group because the vision helps people who are going to help you. If others don't understand your vision, how is anyone going to buy something you want to sell or believe in a project you want to do? Now I'm going to go ahead and pass it off to Carla.
Thank you, Joy. Now that the importance of vision has been discussed, let's talk about how to communicate a vision. Communicating your vision is just as important as developing one. But why? It helps develop a change needed in the vision. When something in a group's vision is not going as planned, recommunicating what the vision is and what you wanted it to be is important. It's important because you need to find what worked and what did not work, and what needs to be changed to make the according new plans and actions to make it a successful one. But most importantly, it keeps everyone focused on the future and the steps needed for a successful goal. The next question is when. When do you speak your vision? In its simplest form, always. It is important that your team is always aware of what your vision is and how you guys want to get there. Begin with the vision at the beginning of the important gatherings. Remind everyone what the future will hold and why it is important. Also, when the need to become more diverse as a group arises, talk as a team on the current vision and the group stands to analyze what must be done. If not everyone agrees, there obviously needs to be a change. Now how? How does a strong leader and company communicate this vision? Start by meeting often. Now this doesn't mean meet every day, but meet maybe once a week, just to see where everyone sat with what they believe in the vision. Does everyone agree on it? And if not, figure out why and what must be done. A vision for a team must include everyone, and not letting people discuss it will prevent the clarity and actions on what everyone needs to do. Communication is all about keeping everyone in mind. So don't forget to think of outside of your team members. The audience outside your team is also important because it will help succeed your company. If the audience outside your company and your team doesn't understand, how do you expect to be successful? Learn the audience in a way that will help you choose the proper words and language so that your vision is clear and effective, transferred to everyone. Now let's talk about some common mistakes on a successful communicating your vision. Don't ignore others' doubts and confusions. Listen to them. Just because most people understand it doesn't necessarily mean that everyone does or that everyone agrees with it. Within time, someone might come up with new ideas that don't go with the vision statement, and you must listen to them because it will help you succeed in the end. Know that seeking perfection won't always help. It can turn your team members against you and will prevent people from succeeding and from improving on what needs to be done. On some of these common mistakes, I will be using one of my stories, very recently that this happened, on what I should have done to avoid a vision, or how I should have communicated my vision so that it would have come out clear. I'm a fire performer. I'm in a group of a couple of us, it's a couple of friends. One of the acts that we do is that we fire breathe. During this weekend, we were practicing a performance of 3 people. We talked it out, we decided what we were gonna do, we did it, and it succeeded. While we were in the middle of it, we all had our fuel in our mouth, so we couldn't talk anymore. We were in the positions and we were just kind of moving around through sign language, nods, head shakes, not very helpful. It ended very poorly. I almost burned my face a little bit because we weren't communicating well on what everyone needed to do and what we wanted the end product to be. I will now, if you'll go into your activity sheet and just take about 3 minutes to look into it and just match the companies to their vision statements.
No, I just was happened to notice. You even know why you were writing. Okay, so I didn't see the next year. I was just like, yeah, because I'm gonna have to write these down. These small things. But just so I would feel loving to first of all, I want to see the why is that sports design? Oh, this is so much fun. I thought it was like after. What is?
Y'all have 1 more minute?
Is everybody done? Perfect. Now I will be going down and letting you know what the answers are, and then we'll discuss this activity a little bit afterwards. The first one is Disney, E. Second one will be Facebook. 3 will be Amazon. 4 is Google. 5 is H, Telsa. 6 is Gyro Sport Design. 7 is D. And 8 is F. Sony. Now let me ask you guys a quick question. Do you guys know why we picked these companies at all? Or do you guys have any idea?
Because their vision was clear, people could remember.
Exactly, and these are all companies that we all know have succeeded and are succeeding, and it's because they have a clear goal on what their future holds. And now I will be passing it over to Walter.
Thank you, Carla. So I will be going over the concept of leading from the front. Leading from the front is the most common type of leadership technique, and more likely than not, you're familiar with it in the modern workplace. In the past, CEOs used a commanding and controlling type of leadership. But leading using this technique has a tendency of alienating employees. When an employee is alienated, they are not inspired. When they're not inspired, more often than not, they're not productive. In today's workplace, it is more important than ever to lead from the front, and no matter what part of the hierarchy you are in the organization as a leader, you have the responsibility to lead. The most successful leaders in today's workplace develop and manifest a vision that directs their company and whoever they are responsible for leading in a positive direction. Leading from the front and helping employees through empowerment rather than using their authority to force them, and communicating with your team on a personal level is key to leading from the front and becoming a successful leader. So how does a leader lead from the front? James Gorman, the CEO of Morgan Stanley, has the ability to form his ideas and sell them to the people that are involved, as opposed to trying to use his power of the assignment to make them do what he wanted. This is a prime example of how to lead from the front. Instead of taking the easy way out and using his power to influence his employees' decision and making them do what he wanted to do, he used persuasion and his actual ideas to lead and guide employees. Another important aspect of leading from the front is the technique of empowerment. This is done by guiding and leading employees through listening to their concerns and also welcoming suggestions they may have. And also having open and frank communication with subordinates. Leaders who lead from above are also open to constructive criticism with their own views as a leader. This helps unite the company as one and makes everyone feel as if they're a part of the real big picture. Leadership is not about being the most powerful or about prestige, but rather having the ability to inspire, guide, and learn from those who you lead. In today's workplace, there's always opportunities to encourage and recognize the achievements of your staff and tell them their value to the organization. So some common mistakes when leading from the front are important to know and correct if you see yourself doing them. It is important to remember that when you're conveying your vision to employees, you must do so with persuasion. In other words, sell them your idea and not command them to think that way. Another common mistake that leaders make is using leadership authority in an abusive way. This could be by intimidation or suggestive comments, and it does not show a leader leading from above, but rather a bully. If these mistakes are avoided and a leader follows the technique of leading from above, they will be an extremely successful leader in the modern workplace. So now I'm going to pass it off to Pauline.
Thank you, Walter. Okay, just imagine if at the beginning of the semester, Professor Stedham told us that our 35-minute training sessions was an individual project. Everything from choosing the 5 main topics to selecting a theme to organizing training materials and peer reviewing your own training session would be a responsibility. But how can you peer review yourself? A solution to this problem would be to team up with your peers and come up with the best training session you can give. Working with your peers towards a common goal means that every single one of us in this classroom has experienced a structure of leadership known as leading from the side. Today, I will be discussing how to influence team members by leading from the side. So, I'm going to start with the why. Leading from the side does not necessarily mean imposing your will on your team members. It means encouraging your peers to find the objective of the team and work together towards that goal to achieve it. Leading from the side means you foster the exchange of ideas among team members. And in order to do that, you need effective communication. And you do this by listening and asking questions among your team members to ensure that the ideas are understood. And influencing your team members also enhances the acceleration of ideas, since peer assessment and suggestions is part of inspiring team members. So I'm going to ask a question. How many of you while preparing for your training sessions, had the same 5 common topics. I'm assuming each one of you had to come up with some in your group. So which group had individuals with the same exact topics? All of you? Like every single one of you?
The ones that did it, yes.
Okay, what about themes?
No, we all brought our own ideas.
Exactly. So working as a team made sure that you all generated ideas. And if you're working by yourself, it wouldn't have been easy. So when you work together, you will all have different strategies, and this will enhance your achievement of your goal. So when does a business use this? A business will use this form of leadership when they want to increase productivity. They do this by inspiring the team to work together. The shared workload among the team ensures that a project is completed in an efficient manner as compared to when an individual is working by themselves. And when the team works together to achieve their goal, increased performance is achieved because the team members each offer different perspectives to the problems that arise, and they help each other solve them. And challenging projects require team members to work together, and as we all know, we have different strengths, and you use those. You assign somebody with a strength to work on a different part of the project, and when you do this, a great product is achieved. And working with your team ensures that you strengthen your relationship among the team. Since you know what to expect, since you're working towards the same goal, it ensures that you develop a strong relationship. And now we'll talk about the how. So you inspire your peers by establishing a common objective, and you work towards it together. And this creates cohesion in the team. Pairing team members on projects fosters the learning of new ideas and offers perspectives from different peers when problems arise. Self-reflection is also important because it ensures that you're always aligning with the company's goals. And self-reflection also means that you will discover the strengths of the individuals in the group and use those attributes to encourage each other and to achieve great performance. Self-reflection also reveals weaknesses, and it will give you an opportunity to help each other work on those weaknesses as a team. As you can see, my sigil over there is a trout from House Tully, Game of Thrones. It's family, duty, and honor. Trout normally make like great effort and sacrifice to go back to their family, which means as part of a team, it's their duty to make sure that the team is always ahead of them. So what are some of the common mistakes that are made in this form of leadership? Some team members make the mistake of not embracing the ideas presented by their peers. They reject those ideas, assuming that their ideas are better. A Harvard Business Review article by Stuart Friedman says, try not to criticize your clients or your peers. Instead, listen to their ideas and offer alternatives to those. When an individual ceases to align with the team's goals, it will cause the team to fail. So always remember to align with the team's goals. Poor communication may lead to misunderstanding clients and peers and may damage relationships that you have worked so hard to develop over time. And now I'm going to pass it on to Drew.
Thank you, Pauline. Hello, everybody. My name is Drew Bryan, and I will be discussing direct decision makers. First, Ryan talked about the top level of the leadership hierarchy and lead from the front. Next, Pauline discussed the middle level of the hierarchy and influence team members. Now we consider the bottom level of the hierarchy in direct decision makers. First, let's consider the question why. Why we should direct decision makers or lead from the bottom. Well, the goal of any organization is to generate results. The bottom level of an organization is usually the most in tune with the day-to-day operations, the ebbs and flows of the business. Communicating the effects of day-to-day operations is critical to the success of the company. That communication creates influence. Anyone in a bottom level position should strive to provide influence to higher level leadership. And the combination of the two, generating results, influence, present an opportunity for advancement within the organization. So there are several situations that allow us to direct decision makers. The most obvious situation to most of us would be what we strive for when we go to college, or such in my case, and probably a lot of your cases as well, is something we are doing now. And we have, or will have, a job to perform for business. Our current jobs, or future jobs, will be a situation where we want to direct decision makers. We may not always see it that way, but leadership can be provided up the hierarchy as much as it can be provided downwards in the hierarchy. Other situations that allow us to direct decision makers include voicing our opinion to political leaders, expressing concerns to community leaders. Voicing our opinion to political leaders helps lead them towards a decision on current legislation or on current topics, whereas expressing concerns to community leaders, such as homeowners associations and local improvement districts, provide awareness where there may be too little or none at all. In order to direct decision makers, we have to understand how. All organizations have an end goal, and most have mission statements indicating how they want to achieve that goal. We should identify organizational and departmental goals and mission statements. That way we can introduce ideas towards accomplishing those goals within the organization's framework to the decision makers. We all understand direct and indirect communication. We use a direct style when our audience is already receptive to the topic, and we use our indirect style when our audience resists the topic. Directing decision makers usually calls for direct communication. Leaders want to get to the point quickly. And a local U.S. accounting firm, Crow, produces a publication on decision-making methodologies, and they quoted Jeff Bezos using a 90-10 ratio for his decision-making. He says 90% of the decisions that need to be made can be made quickly in the matter of just a few minutes, whereas 10% require greater time commitment and concentration. That means most decisions are going to be considered and made quickly. So the time it takes to get to the point can be the difference between your idea's acceptance or not. Lastly, another situation that leads to influence decision makers is building a relationship with those decision makers. Relationship building leads to trust, and trust can be a powerful tool. There are common mistakes that can be made when exhibiting leadership up the hierarchy. One common mistake is a failure to consider opposing ideas or opinions. Beyond that, beyond what makes an idea good, a decision maker also wants to know why it's better than the alternatives, or why the alternatives aren't good. And another mistake would be criticizing people instead of their ideas. This could lead to negatively impacting your relationship. And finally, one last mistake would be suppressing ideas or opinions. A good idea means nothing if it isn't heard. So that concludes the topic of direct decision makers. I will now reintroduce Joey to continue with the video and wrap up.
Hello again. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce you to the Apple Macintosh computer. Now, it's 1984, and we're moving into this technological era that we just don't see coming. But there's one man out in California who's just crazy enough to have a vision. Now, I want you to notice what they're going to portray visually, okay? It's not about what they're saying. It's about what it makes you feel.
see why 1984 won't be like 1984.
My house is House Baratheon. Ours is the fury. Simple, to the point. You understand what they're trying to say. Steve Jobs had a vision. He wanted to change the face of the world. What did this video show you? Can anyone give me what it made you feel? Yes?
I think we're about to disrupt the status quo.
Perfect. Steve Jobs was a visionary, of course, but he wanted to make sure everyone understood that we have something special and you need to be a part of this. If you notice the contrast between the black and white, the mundane, the everyday, and Macintosh computers are coming and right through the screen. And it's silly, I know, but it's something that's important. In the book, Leadership and the Fate of Organizations, written by Bartholomew, Hogan, and Kaiser, they talk about how without strong leadership, any organization is either doomed or susceptible to failure. Now, I'm going to go ahead and move on. And I'm going to go ahead and summarize everything. Now, we talked about how to understand what your personal vision is and why it's important. We talked about communicating your vision and how it's important to lead others with your singular idea. We talked about how you have to lead from the front in not the correct way, but a better way. You have to make others feel included in the process. You can't just be an authoritarian. We talked about how to influence your team members, how to make everything benefit you and I. It's not a zero-sum game. Make them feel included again, and you can both prosper. We talked about directing decision makers. It's the boots on the ground that see everything for what it is. As people get higher in the clouds, they lose sight of what's important and what actually happens. Again, the singular vision of Steve Jobs, you know, he's in a better place, I hope, but that we've lost a mind. And thank you for ascending to the throne with us. I hope you took away some vision and leadership. Now, I'll open the field to Q&A.
So you guys said that pairing of teams helps foster new ideas. So is it better to make a team of people from different departments or from the same?
So your question again is to either make a team from the same department or from different departments. That sounds like a great question for Pauline.
Thanks, Keely, for that question. So it is better to have team members from different departments because they will have different ideas, different perspectives, and sometimes you might have to do a team within one department, but it is advisable to have different people from different departments because they offer different perspectives and it improves efficiency.
Perfect.
Does that answer your question?
Thank you.
Yes.
So why I cannot tell people what to do when I'm the boss?
It's a good question. Thank you. Ryan?
One of the common mistakes when leading from above is not abusing your power. So, be a good way not to do whatever you want to use your power.
You just can't be a jackbooted thug, you know? Any other questions? Yes?